Ah, the peace lily, the world's go-to plant. I'm sure you've got one sitting not so proudly in your home right now. Don't look at him, he'll know we're talking about him, and we don't want him to throw yet another hissy fit. Let me guess, he's either sat there on your plant shelf with no blooms, or if he does have blooms, then they have this weird green colour, he has brown tips on his leaves, or he's looking like he wants to keel over even though you water him every single day. Sound familiar? You're not alone. We've all been there of course, but look, there's no need to stress. This video is here to help you. Hopefully. Like a stroppy teenager, this guy is just simply misunderstood, so all we need to do is give him what he wants. And thankfully, unlike a teenager, figuring that out isn't rocket science. We all buy these plants for their lovely white flowers. When I say flowers, I actually mean spaths. Spaths? Spaths? Spathes? But that's a story for another day. For the purposes of this video, I'm calling them flowers. Shoot me down in the comments all you want. I digress. These plants are absolutely gorgeous, aren't they? Showing off their blooms like a peacock displaying its feathers to get a date. And most of us duly oblige and take it home to meet the family. It gets settled in and two things normally happen. They either stop blooming with their flowers doing a non-returning disappearing act despite the love you show it, or if they do return, they turn this weird green colour like the Wicked Witch of the West. Look, it's happening on mine right now. Two green blooms putting me to shame. What's up with that, I hear you ask? It's super common actually, and it's all because you're mistreating it, just like I'm mistreating mine. Sorry mate, I'll do better from now on. A few things can cause this, but the most likely one is your needy desperation to get it to flower again, so you can show him off to all your friends, neighbours and family. I'm not judging you though, I've been there. I'm talking about fertiliser of course, or more specifically, too much fertiliser. Being too generous with the liquid gold can turn your new peace lily's blooms green, like a greedy child turns green from eating too much candy. I mean, I get it, you probably read that phosphorus helps a plant flower, so the more the merrier, right? Not quite. Too much candy can be too much of a good thing after all. Just give your little buddy the correct feed according to the instructions on the bottle or whatever. It just doesn't pay to try and be the doting parent on the sidelines, helicopter parenting it until it's sick to the stomach. And by the way, I talk about how to fertilise correctly in my rather wonderful Houseplant SOS course that is packed full of tutorials on how not to kill your plant. Check it out in the description. I'm doing 20% off during August, you lucky things, so don't miss out. Having said all that, over-fertilisation isn't actually the reason my plant has green blooms. I'm not trying to send you down the rabbit hole, I promise. Mine's got green flowers because I'm not giving it enough sun. I know that because it's 2 meters away from the nearest window, which isn't near enough for a flowering plant like this. You see, the blooms don't get paler the less light they receive, they get greener weirdly. I'm trying to correct this by shining a Sansi clip-on grow light over it. This turns my very low light spot under my fireplace mantle into a medium light zone, which should make for a happier plant. Where can you get this Sansi grow light, I hear you ask? The link is down below and you get a spiffing 15% off if you use it. Happy shopping. I probably also need to give mine a good clean. Look at the state of it. I have a terrible habit of not cleaning my plants, something I need to work on, I know. Let's correct this right now actually by giving it a good wash in the garden. This should allow it to capture the light without fighting a thick blanket of dead skin cells or whatever bits and pieces are actually in dust. We should encourage it to bloom. The third most likely reason for Wicked Witch flowers is watering problems. Either under or over watering can give your peace lily that sickly look. I know, what the philodendron is over watering and how can you stop it? If there's one thing you remember from this video, make it this. Over watering is giving your peace lily water too frequently. That's it. It's not quantity, it's frequency. You see, you want the soil to dry out in between watering so that air can get back around the roots. Air. In the words of the late Tina Turner, what's air got to do with it? What's air got to do with it? Roots need air just as much as you and I do. They suffocate without it. And saturated soil suffocates your plant. So stop doing it, otherwise I'll report you to the plant authorities. You don't need to go to Overwatering Anonymous to sort this problem out either. There's a much simpler solution. The world's best invention, of course, and my favourite affiliate link, the moisture meter. Use that and only water when it's telling you the soil is transitioning into the dry zone. Simples. Well, sort of. Peace lilies are a bit funny, and they always seem to be on the permanent state of droop. She drives me crazy. They do seem to be a fair bit thirstier than your average Joe. Is yours drooping right now? Let me know in the comments. I swear I give my plant water and the next day it's drooping like it wants more. What do I need to do to make you happy? Sorry, I had to get that off my chest. All this is to say, don't let the soil dry out too much, not with this plant. The sweet spot is when the meter is just on the cusp of going into the dry zone. Drier than that, and you might see leaves touching the floor, which is never a clever look. There are occasions, of course, where she might even be drooping because you've gone too far and giving it water when it didn't need it. Doesn't it just seem like we can't win with some plants? Too much water, not enough water, makes me want to pack it all in. Not really. She can hear me. Like I say, just let the soil dry out in between watering, but not too much. Clear as mud, right? Just to complicate things further, your peace lily will also droop if it's lucky enough to be living in hot weather. I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? Hot weather equals quicker transpiration and therefore soil that dries out sooner. And as discussed, peace lilies really don't mind showing you as soon as they're a teeny tiny bit thirsty. Not sure what you can do if you're in a heat wave and your plant is acting up really. Draw the blinds and keep on top of watering, I guess. Or just grin and bear it. Back to the green blooms, what do you do with them? There's no need to be hasty and Henry VIII them, just leave them be. Correct the problem and see if the next bloom comes out white. Right, that's the nitty gritty of green flowers, or spaves to the finicky people at the back, sorted. What's going on if you don't even have flowers to begin with? I mean, I bet tons of you have brought your peace lily home only to find the little bugger doesn't want to put out blooms again. Well, my friends, you've been duped. Duped is a bit harsh. What's happened is the growers have fed the plant gibberellic acid to force it to bloom just as it goes on sale. Cheeky, eh? It's the cheat code for easy blooms, but that's not to say we can't get them to come back. Just look at mine with its glorious 2 green flowers. The key thing to get right here is light. Let there be light. That's the Peace Lily Society's mantra they all chant during their monthly meeting. I'm surprised mine blooms at all, being so far away from the window, but I'm not complaining even if they are green. Did I mention that? They really need medium light at least to have a chance of regular flowering. If you're not sure what that is, then I've got you covered in my recent video all about lighting that I might leave a link to on screen if I remember. If it's not there, then I've been distracted by my kids jumping on me while I'm uploading. Basically, it boils down to this. They want to see a decent amount of the sky. What's the best spot to make that happen? Near a window. Enlightening stuff, eh? I should get awards for these videos. East and west facing windows are perfect. South facing, or north facing if you're down under, I don't want to annoy my southern hemispherical friends, is probably a little bit too scorchy feely for it. They tend to fade when left to fend for themselves in the baking hot sun all day, every single day. So protect them from direct rays of sun to be on the safe side. In a funny way, direct sun doesn't actually make it more likely to bloom flowers. Hear me out before you click off and watch Kill This Plant instead. Direct sun is more likely to stress the plant out, because it'll be drying out quicker and scorching its leaves and all that. And a stressed plant just won't be willing to bloom happily. And temperature is also important for these precious little souls. You're less likely to see a blooming peace lily in winter, one, because of the light, or lack of light, but also the colder temperatures. In an ideal world, we shouldn't have this problem in summer. I say that, but our summer has been pretty shocking this year, with temperatures barely getting into the 20s. I know, I moan too much about the weather, but I'm a Brit and that's what we do best, of course. The point is, if you have yours next to something daft, like an air conditioning vent, it's just not going to be happy. Keep it away from doors and windows that get opened often. You'll have a much happier peace lily that is willing to reward you with tons of white flowers. Who am I trying to kid? It's a minor miracle when you get one flower on this plant. So this guy doesn't like it too hot or too cold. Remind you of anyone? I wouldn't blame you if you drove yours to your nearest woods, I really wouldn't. Right then, let's talk about one of my personal bugbears in life and something that seems to plague this plant more than most. Brown tips on the leaves. At this point in my life, I've just come to terms with it, and not just for this plant, to be honest. It's impossible to give our green friends exactly what they want, partly because they're so needy, but partly because our homes are just so different to where they grew up, so we've got to expect some issues along the way. Very mature, I know. I'm all growed up. A little bit of browning on the tips isn't the biggest problem in the world. I've just come to accept that now, and for a more fulfilling life, I suggest you do the same. I know what you're thinking, of course. Brown tips is all to do with humidity, right? Yes and no. Sure, a lack of decent humidity can be a problem for plants that hail from the jungle, but I think inconsistency is more of a problem. Not just inconsistency with humidity, but inconsistency with anything. Making your plant repeatedly get on its knees and beg for water before waterboarding it will damage the cells in the leaves, making that brown scarring that annoys us all. Leaving it right next to an external door during the winter, when it goes from toasty to freezing regularly, will do much the same. So try and keep it somewhere where the environment doesn't change too much. Basically, treat it just like a newborn. Easy, right? An issue that is more likely to be making your peace lily turn brown is the quality of water you're giving it. I don't want to go too tinfoil hat on you, but I've come to realise that some of our plants aren't that much of a fan of the chlorine or chloramine in our tap water. The slow build-up of this stuff in the soil can lead to scarring in the cells of the leaves. And there's tons of great options to combat this, from distilled water to reverse osmosis to filtered water to collecting nature's finest. But one simple solution I've turned to is water conditioner. It just so happens I've made a video all about the wonders of this special potion for your viewing pleasure that you can check out by clicking on the link right there.